Hello and welcome back to Land Rover Toolbox videos. Today we're going to have a look at brake discs. Okay, I've got one here, and on the edge here it has some information. This is the minimum thickness for which the brake disc is serviceable. Okay, so if you've invested in one of these little babies, which is a dial gauge, great. If not, then consider it. It's worth its while. First of all, I'm going to tell you that sometimes corroded discs can be remachined or skimmed, depending on what thickness it is. Generally in the UK we don't skim discs anymore, this is more an American thing, but Land Rover do set out some dimensions of minimum thickness that it can be machined to. Checking out the workshop manual, and this is from the 300 TDI Defender, which has front and rear discs, we can see that we have disc diameter thicknesses, but what we're looking for is wear limits and disc runout maximum. Now you'll see this for both front service brake and rear service brake. The manual will also give you the original disc thickness, and there are choices on the Defender as you can see here, so be aware of that. Okay, so what we have is a vented disc here from a Defender, and you can see it is actually worn, it's grooved, and one side is thicker than the other. So just remember that. Okay, anyway, what I've got is a set of calipers for measuring brake disc thickness, and they're actually a very handy piece of equipment, and it should be invested in if you're looking after your brakes. Okay, well I've just measured this, and you'll see if you can read a vernier caliper that it's actually about 19 millimeters thick at the thinnest point, which will be, you can see where it's worn. So on a disc that's 24 millimeters new, which is this one, 22 millimeters is actually the limit for wear, so that one's failed. Now with a solid disc, this is 14 millimeters new or 12 maximum wear. Okay, well you always change the discs as a pair, okay, and I'm going to show you here the warpage test, which is a wobble test. You put the discs together and see if they wobble, okay, by pressing them together with your thumbs. These two are okay, so I can use these. This is the first check you should do. Okay, so in the instructions it will tell you to check the total disc runout with a dial indicator, which will be 0.15 of a millimeter. So what you do is set up your dial gauge, load it against the face of the disc and turn it. What you'll see is any warpage or runout, and you'll see the stylus is touching the disc and it's moving the needle just slightly. It's well within the 0.15 of a millimeter, so these discs are okay. If the disc does show excessive runout, then reposition it, clean the mating flanges and try again. If it's still like that, then replace it. Here's a little tip for you. When you're either doing up or undoing nuts and bolts, don't use an excessively long extension, because what you do is you lose energy because the extension will be twisting. Okay, so you can see that it's twisting before you engage. Right, so the best thing to do is to get an extension so it's just enough so you can clear it and get it square on, and that will come off a lot easier. A long extension, however, is handy for winding the nuts out once they're loose, like so. Okay, so removing the discs, well that's quite easy. It's just a matter of using a bi-hexagonal socket, either 13 or 14 mil, I can't remember off the top of my head what size it is, but crack them off, take all 5 of them off, and then you should be able to knock the disc off. Where you see the disc is sitting, it's got corrosion on it, needs to be removed, and also on the spigot where the disc sits, that needs to be cleaned up as well. This will help you fit it properly without having any warpage. On the end of the drill is a rotary sander, so you can use paper, whatever. Make sure there's no grit or corrosion. Then when you fit the disc on, it should be sat there and square on without any runouts. Okay, workshop manual, front axle. I actually found a spelling mistake there, but what it tells you to do is use Loctite and fit the retaining bolts and tighten to 73 Newton meters. Okay, so we got some Loctite. We'll put that on the thread and then fit the bolts to the hub, clamping down the brake disc. Paddock do sell Loctite products, so check them out. Right, so I've got a torque wrench and it's set, and this is also calibrated and it's done twice a year. I know it's right. Basically, you want the best calibrated torque wrench you can get, not a cheap one. Now, torquing these up, we do them in a star fashion, okay, the first time round. This way you're actually tightening up opposites. It's sort of the same thing as what you do on truck wheel nuts, but what we do here is we'll do the wheel nuts once, leave it half an hour, and then go back and torque up all the wheel nuts. This will make sure that the clamping is even and the pressure is distributed across the face. So remember this. Try it next time that you do a disc or you take your wheel off and put it back on. Try the second torque and see if there's any nuts or bolts that are slightly under torque. Right, so once you've got your hub back on and your bearing end float is set correctly, you can set up your dial gauge and check for the run out. This will save you a lot of time if you find out your disc's warped and you fitted everything back together and your pedal pulses under your foot.